Tonight, OpenAI, confidentially, filing for its IPO, its initial public offering, with the Securities and Exchange Commission, announcing it online because the company expected it to leak anyway. This comes at a moment when the artificial intelligence revolution is sparking new debate over who should share in the profits, just the ownership of these companies, as AI companies race toward trillion-dollar valuations.
President Trump saying he plans to meet with major AI companies as soon as next week to discuss a partnership that could give Americans a direct stake in the industry.
Critics warning, that would be me and Brian among those, that government equity or ownership stakes could lead to political influence over the technology and, well, could slow it dramatically, its development. And here is President Trump's advisor and AI czar, David Sachs, warning of just that to our own Larry Kudlow earlier today.
It's the private sector that's basically creating all this innovation. That's the thing that leads to growth in our economy. But Larry, you and I are supply-siders, and we believe that ultimately economic growth comes from the capacity of human beings to generate more products, more supply, more information, not just from consumption. And AI helps us create that abundance. So I agree with you. It'd be a real shame if we overregulated this thing. But look, I think if that happens, to be honest, some of these AI CEOs have no one to blame but themselves, because they themselves have been talking about all the job loss they're going to create. And I do think that there's a lot of Americans saying, what's in this for me?
Here to react, the Heritage Foundation chief economist, EJ Antoni. EJ, always good to see you. David Sachs says, look, some of these guys, if they end up with a ton of regulation, they deserve it because they've been on Capitol Hill. They've been talking to guys like Bernie Sanders, if you're Sam Altman, and they've been saying things like, yeah, come regulate us. Yeah, come take an ownership share in what we do. I think that all of that is a disaster, EJ. I believe in capitalism. I believe it, whether it's making cereal or whether it's making AI. What do you think about this?
Brian, I think that's spot on. Look, at the end of the day, anytime you have these corporate interests, especially large corporate interests, who are advocating for their own regulation, you should always pay very careful attention to that, because invariably what it ends up being is regulation that disproportionately hurts their competitors. So even if it might set them back a step or two, it sets their competitors back even more, and therefore it gives them an edge. This is why it is typically the biggest retailers who support the largest increases to the minimum wage, because it hurts their small business competition more than it hurts them. You know, if you're a company like McDonald's, you can invest in robotics, you can invest in automated kiosks that are going to take orders with the customer, so that you don't have to have an extra staff member there to do the work. So again, anytime you have these large corporations who are advocating for their own regulation, pay very careful attention to it, because it's never going to end well, not for their competition and not for the American consumer.
Well, as much as we might dislike regulation, and David Sachs is not in favor of the 50 states each making their own regulations over artificial intelligence, you must hate the government taking ownership stakes in private businesses. And that is what the Trump administration has done with Intel, MP Materials, Lithium Americas, Thacker Pass, Trilogy Metals, quantum computing companies, even the golden share of U.S. Steel, EJ, and then floating the idea when asked that maybe we take equity stakes in AI, and then that opens the door to Bernie Sanders saying, oh, we're going to take ownership stakes in these companies and do our own sovereign wealth fund. Please explain to the audience how that is not like giving a grant to a bunch of companies, and the danger that lies in the government taking control of private industry because we're not communists.
Not yet anyway, unless Bernie Sanders has his way, right? But look, Dagan, at the end of the day, first thing regarding interstate commerce, I think it's very clear that Congress has a role there and that it does put you at a disadvantage to have all of these different regulatory frameworks on a state-by-state basis. And then there's also the constitutional question of if there is that interstate commerce component there, do the states even have authority or should that be left to the U.S. Congress? Now, all that being said, how did we get here in terms of these companies being so great? That's a question worth answering. We got here through private investment, through private direction, not through state-sponsored enterprise, whatever that is, not through a top-down approach of some regulator, some government apparatchik dictating to these companies what kind of product they would offer to who and when. No, this was all the private sector, and it should remain in the private sector. These companies are growing like gangbusters. They do not need public sector support. And furthermore, when you're talking about Bernie Sanders' plan, that's not even public sector support. Can we just please call it what it is? It is theft.
Right.
It is outright confiscation of private property, whether that's intellectual property or physical property. Bernie Sanders wants to effectively say, we're going to tax you and take half of what you've created, but we're going to do it in such a way that conveniently it can be paid as a quote-unquote tax through equity shares. So again, he basically just wants the government to have a controlling stake in these companies.
That's seizing the means of production. That's how communism works, EJ Antoni. Now, I'm the 50-state regulation guy. We're going to have that debate some other time on AI. I know you two are against me. I'll bone up for the big debate. We got to leave it there, EJ Antoni. Great to see you. Take care.
Thank you.
The government has strange powers to screw competitors that don't exist in the private sector, and politicians have very different, horrible, vile motivations than, say, CEOs who either perform and get paid or get fired.
Yep.
Coming up.